Hello. Hi. Excuse me. My allergies are punishing me. Um, Before I get started, I do want to address something that happened in my prior stream. In episode 19 of Subnautica, I ended it rather abruptly. I I touched on things that had been happening in my personal life that have been affecting me to a degree that I wasn't totally aware of until that happened. Um, so, for you guys that don't know, um, I'm. I'll start from the beginning actually. So, a few years ago, I moved out of my essentially my childhood city, or well, not my childhood, but my hometown, and I moved to a legitimate city about 30 minutes north with someone who I thought was going to be the person that I end up marrying. And we had been together at that point for a while. And pretty much what ended up happening is that when we were finally essentially on our own, it was unbalanced. I was constantly the one responsible for things. I was um, the one who had all of the brunt of everything. Everything is in my name and all that. And after about 8 years of being with that person, that relationship ended. That was about a week or so, or 2 weeks ago, I think. Actually, no. On top of that, I lost a job that was a very significant income source for me. Um, and that was solely my fault, honestly. I was attempting to get a job, my dream job, actually, and I still am. Um, but due to arrogance, my attitude slipped up, and it was just not good. On top of that, dealing with the essentially the day-to-day situation of living in the United States, since the government has made some very poor choices lately, has become very tiresome. So, speaking as a person who was born and raised in the United States, who doesn't really buy into political parties or religious parties for that matter, I think for myself, which makes me an enemy of a lot of people, including my own family, and to see groups of people who are supposed to be trusted and groups of people who are supposed to have people's best interests at heart just completely throw all that out the window is tiresome. So, what I'm trying to say is, um, what happens at the end of that stream was I became very tired, very mentally tired, very physically tired. Anyways, I had actually gotten off work earlier that day, but it wasn't fair of me to just go off like that, and I've been thinking about that ever since. It was uncalled for, and someone like me who is a content creator who has a live interaction with their audience shouldn't act that way, and they shouldn't just just use viewers as punching bags. That's not fair, and that's not what it's not what I want to be known for. So I do apologize to my viewers and my followers who saw that and saw my attitude, heard my attitude, more or less. Now, as for taking a break, I do plan to take a break from this until I can get my life more back in order. I did just start a new job, and it's something to get used to. It's very, very physically demanding, but it's good for me. But I do need to get certain things straightened out before I can truly dedicate what time I have to doing this. As for why I'm doing a stream right now, I felt the need to explain myself. Also, I can't sleep. I have to work in about 4 hours, and I physically cannot sleep. Now, I have slept today. I took a nap, about a 4-hour nap, actually, because depression is one hell of a drug. It will just knock you out at some points. But I don't know if that's the reason why I can't sleep, or the fact that it's about 98 degrees with a humidity of like 80%. But it's just, I can't. I'm fully wide awake. I've been staring at the ceiling. Cannot force myself to sleep. So I figured I'll play a game that I know makes me drowsy, and I'll play it for you guys because you deserve some quality content. Not sponsored, but by the way, Jordan Marin, Captain Sparkles, if you see this stream and you see this video, I would totally love to be sponsored by quality content. Anyways, but this is oh, I should probably do an intro, shouldn't I? Since this is getting uploaded. Hello everyone, welcome to Kronos TV. My name is Zen, and this is PowerWash Simulator. This is a game that I was highly addicted to when I first got it. And when I mean highly addicted to it, I mean I played this all the time. I actually used to play this during stream with a group of friends of mine. So, it's very fun. My only qualm with it is that there is absolutely no background music. It is all sound effects. And that is why I have my Spotify playlist going right now, which is Rainy Day Lo-Fi, and it's probably going to get copyright striked, but I simply don't care because I have to have music to listen to. So pretty much in PowerWash Simulator, in the career aspect anyways, you are given a job to clean an object, which could be a van, could be a house, could be an amusement park. I think there's an amusement park. I don't remember. But yeah, so great news. Finally found, this is from Harper Shaw. Great news. Finally found a van for you at the auctions under your budget. Don't freak out when you see it. It looks like it's just been dredged from the bottom of a lake. Fair assessment. But that's a good thing. It meant no one else bid on it. They missed out. Underneath this hideous layer of gunk is your perfect workhorse. Engine's a dream, no rust. There's even equipment in the back. Just needs a good hosing down and you're in business. Right. So the background is the player is starting their own business of power washing. So You'll just get things on occasion. So I've got this, and I've got a power washer, pressure washer, power washer, whatever you want to call it. I actually used to work for a company that sold these, and I know a little bit about them. Is it R? It is R. Okay. Is it... I can never remember if it's the yellow or the green that's the good one. Okay, that's green. I think I want to hit it with the green first and just go all the way across. The green doesn't get the details, but we can always do the details later. And yes, for those of you who are wondering, I did find out about this game from one of my favorite Let's Players, Markiplier, Mark Fishbach. And I thank him, because this is a really addictive game, and it's quite fun. Oh, I considered the door clean. That's cool. So let's see the rest of the dirt. Oh my. Oh, the hubcap's clean. That's cool. Hubcap's clean. Okay, so let's switch to a bit more detailed. I don't like the red one because it's just a dot. Let's go over the window again. Window is done. Let's do the mirror. That's good. It does get very forgiving at a point, but we're not really at that point. Got a cramp in my leg all of a sudden. Usually means that you need potassium, but I don't really eat a whole lot of potassium. I don't eat bananas. Oh, this already had a license plate on it. I really hope it's registered to me. Alright, so go back through with the detail. Something that has always bothered me about this game, is oh, I'm hitting E. There we go. Is speaking as someone who sold this equipment, there are accessories that you can buy in real life for pressure washers that the game developers didn't add in. And it's a little annoying. There is an accessory in particular called a well, technically it's called a surface cleaner, but it's a disc that you get for when you're cleaning, like not floors, but like decks and stuff like that. And it works really well if you get the right one. There's a removals van outside my nightmare neighborhood's place. They're finally going. Whoever moves in there is going to need a quality pressure washer. Well, I mean, you can give him my number, I guess. I have actually, it's kind of funny. I have pressure washed before in my actual life. It's not as relaxing as this game makes it, but it is almost as satisfying. By the way, that ladder is because we have to wash the tippy top. And I'm not completely sure how long this stream is going to be. I guess just until I get quite tired. For reference, it is 1 in the morning for me. I don't have my sound effects turned on, do I? audio. Turn the master volume up a little bit. Water volume a little bit. The water is extremely loud. It says music, but there is no music. It's so weird. There we go. You gonna go with that business name, or do you need me to think some up? I'm phenomenal. I thought up Groding Thomas for that Tyler, and she's never looked bad. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but whatever. There we go. Just so the entire audio doesn't get muted. On reflection, Bonnie Tyler might have been a better fit. So it's supposed to be, whoops, that's not what I want. You can also upgrade your, I did it again. Oh, there we go. That, I can't think of the word. The tutorial wasn't going away. Get out. It's nasty. Get those wheels. Get them all squeak clean. Are you gonna be that exact about this one? Oh, it's because I didn't hit it from that side. Oops. There we go. The bumper, the grill, and the booty. Oh, the booty's not gonna be done until I get the... top. There we go, there we go. The bumper. There we go. Alright. Let's get up. Oh my god. I should probably switch to that one. That one will be a little bit nicer. Hey, I did it. Calvin Miller. Is this the extraordinary Dr. PowerWash? I got your details from your friend Harper. I didn't get to read the rest of that. Cool. Oh, and you can see a time lapse. You can also see me. I'm wearing a backpack pressure washer? Do they make those? I don't think they make those. Clean the back garden, 213 Walnut Street, Muckingham. Muckingham? Hey Doc, I hope you like a challenge, because I'm pretty sure I got the dirtiest backyard you've ever seen. That's not me bragging, by the way. I had nothing to do with it. I just moved it back to town for a bit to help my folks who are both down to their last D and rented what I thought was a great little place. Should have questioned why there weren't any garden pics in the ad. They must have bred rhinos here or something. Anyways, my girls are itching to get out there, and I know what they're still itching when they get back inside, so please do your thing. Thanks a lot, Cal. Alright, Cal, I'll get your house all cleaned up. Or, not your house, but your backyard. Holy wow. Dang. I didn't know I could do that. That's kind of cool. We're gonna sit with that. Control. Doot. Okay. Guess I know I can jump. Oh boy. Okay. There's an aim mode. Since when? Oh, escape. That's my inventory. When was that a thing? That's interesting. They must have updated. Well, yeah, they have majorly updated this since I played. Oh, that's not even remotely cutting through that, is it? I remember this being a major problem. Can I buy the turbo? No, I can't buy the turbo. Man. I can't. I can buy one. I'll buy, like, the very first one. Sure. And we're going to go to here, and we're going to put the turbo on it. That should help a little bit. This is awful. This thing was nasty. I don't think this is helping. I think this is a bit better than the turbo because I feel like I'm missing spots with the turbo. Plus I can go in a bigger radius than the turbo can. Kind of. Can I switch to... Yeah, I can just do this. Make my own turbo. It kind of works. I want to let you guys know that even though I am planning on taking a break from doing all of this, I do have ideas that I want to do. I'd like to get back to Minecraft. I've been building a server map. You guys seen you've seen a little bit of it, and I'd like to eventually get to a point where I can like play Minecraft with friends of mine. Minecraft's really fun to me, although I'm more of a builder than a survivalist. I'll play the survival, like I've played it before, and it's enjoyable, but it's I more enjoy building. I was a Lego kid, you know. Oh wow, that was very forgiving. I'm gonna do something real quick, guys. Just hold your horses. I promise I'll be right back. Where's my mouse? Uh-oh. Whoa. It did not like that. There we go. There we go. By the way, I'm starting... I started with this because it is what I consider the most, like, problematic slash dirtiest area. Oh my. Note to self, do not change positions while the water is going. It does not like that. So I've noticed some people are kind of confused over the whole Chronos thing and Zen thing. So I could probably explain it a little bit. So Zen is an avatar of mine. He's a character I created. And yes, technically you could say he is a Transformers OC if you guys can get over that cringe. But Zen is a character I made because I do plan on basically becoming a VTuber once everything is set more in stone. Um, I used to have a YouTube channel and Twitch channel where I used Facecam, and it's kind of funny. I enjoy having Facecam because I love people seeing like my reactions to things, but at the same time, I'm one of those people where I'm like, wow, I don't like the way I look. So Zen is there to be my avatar. He's there to be my face cam because my real face is too butt ugly. um, just it's more of like a self-confidence thing. But anyways, um, one of the other things is that there is a bit of a technological like limitation. Um, when you do face cam and you have a camera that doesn't operate in the same frame rate that your stream is, so like my stream is always 60 frames per second, but my camera can only do 30 frames a second, um, it doesn't really like it. It has a hard time processing that, so it takes more power to do that. So overall, having the virtual face is better. Um, but so to clear up the confusion, Zen is me. He's just me. Um, and his name is short for Zenith. I don't know why. I like the name, and I kind of I try to be a very peaceful guy, so Zen kind of works for that. Kronos originally, that was the channel Kronos. I was going to be Kronos, but then I'm like, wow, Kronos is the god of time. I don't want to have that big of an ego. So Kronos became the brand. So it's like the Kronos channel with the host of Zen is what it is. Oh, hi Brian. Thank you. But so that's what that's about. And eventually, I will get around to doing or getting it commissioned to do a Zen VTuber model. Of course, those are extremely expensive. Or I'll just figure out how to do it on my own. I'm very resourceful when it comes to things like that. I taught myself how to stream when I was like 16, I think. This is the most time-consuming one, I swear. But things will get better. Things always get better. Granted, there's a bit of a universal law that things get worse before they get better, but they do end up getting better. So, eventually, my life will be all straightened up, and I'll be this rich Twitch star, if Twitch is still around in 10, 20 years. So much dirt. And like, fame doesn't really appeal to me. I'm not really after fame. I want to become famous because I want to have the money required to take care of people. I want to donate to every charity. I want to donate to, every hospital. There's actually a hospital that is kind of tied with my family right now. Because two of my relatives pretty much lived there for a while. And I want to give back to them. That would be the only reason that I want to have, like, why I want to be rich and famous, is because I want I want to do what people have done for me, and I want to take care of others. And I know that sounds corny as fuck, but it's true. So many people have made sacrifices for me, and I want to be able to do the same for them. It's one of the reasons why I want my dream job. I like helping people. Good lord, did they actually raise rhinos in here? This is disgustingly dirty. Nice backyard though. Like overall, I wish I had a backyard like this. All I have is a fire pit and a cheap plastic table from Big Lots. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'm not perfect. I'll say that. I'm not a perfect person. I have a temper and but I try to improve myself, when and where I can. I gotta switch to the doodad. How did I miss that? God, there's so many crevices. And the thing is, I don't want to be perfect. I don't want to be, boring. I like who I am as a person. Mostly. There's a couple of things that I would like to improve. Like, my temper. I really gotta improve my temper. It doesn't show itself often, but when it does, it's not pleasant. But I want to blame that on genetics, because I'm pretty sure I get that from my dad. That's what I want. I want to be the person that people think I am. Like, my entire family thinks that I am some sort of sweet, responsible, techno genie that can solve any issue, and at this point in time, I'm more or less just a person that's like, okay, what would be the right solution? I'm a good problem solver. That's what I tell people. I'm a very good problem solver. I'm very clever. But I want to be the version that everyone sees me as. Which may or may not be possible, but I can still strive for it. This is disgusting. I did it! But now I gotta clean this. Hey, forget that. Cool. Thank you. That's done. I think yellow is gonna be good for these. I think this is a birdhouse. Can't tell underneath all the mud. How do you get mud on a birdhouse like this? Mind me just watering the plant. the stands clean. What did I miss on the... Oh, it's dirty on the inside, too. I got it. Holy nasty grill. Nasty. Looks like a charbroil. Possibly a Weber. It's a Weber. Or it's supposed to be. I used to sell these. It's kind of funny, in retrospect, I do miss that job. Because it wasn't a hard job, really. The hardest part was dealing with what I call know-it-all customers. So, like, since I don't work for them anymore, I used to work for Lowe's. It's a home improvement store if you don't have one. They're also known as Rona's in, I think, Canada. If you know what Home Depot is, they're the competitor to Home Depot. Or, I like to think they are. And, like, I worked in seasonal, and I also worked in electrical. Was not a hard job. Genuinely was not a hard job. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I had a pretty much set schedule. I had well, in seasonal anyways, I had a decent supervisor. Guy was really cool. I miss him a lot. But what happened was I was kind of looking to leave anyways. They had this really toxic management group. Basically, I'm pretty sure everyone's had to deal with something similar to this, where there's a group of people that think just because they possess a certain trait, they're better than others. And in my case, pretty much all of management was a group of men between the ages of 20 and 40. And because they were men, and I'm not going to lie, some of them were rather attractive men, they thought they could get away with anything. And it really annoyed me, because they were always like, oh, well, if you ever need any help, yada, 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 always come to us, blah, 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 blah. We know the right way to do stuff. But then I'd get, like, in trouble for doing it their way. And then if I'd ever have to go to them for anything, most of them were just like, oh, just get over it. Go deal with it. You're fine. On top of that, I was friends with a lot of females that worked there. I have apparently a very decent personality for that. And they would always tell me, like, most of management made them highly uncomfortable. So I was just like, I don't want to work for guys like this. I really don't. Because I feel scummy. So I applied for my dream job and was basically told, oh, well, we'd love to have you, but right now we're trying to get the money together to be able to afford to hire someone. Because they kind of work by contract. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's fine, you know. I don't mind waiting. So I was going to continue working there until they got the money required to hire me on. And pretty much what happened was I got a lot of write-ups very quickly. And it was almost too coincidental. So I had a write-up for days that I had missed the previous year or so that I had worked there, because I had been quite sick and in and out of the hospital, and I basically missed, according to them, I missed a day per month that I was hired, and they wrote me up for it. I was like, okay, that's fine, it's only one write-up, it's not a big deal. All I had to do was not miss a day for another 365 days. Well, there was one day in particular that things got really, really, really stressful. I was working in electrical, and something that Lowe's does is most associates have these things called Zebras. They're smartphones, basically, with scanners attached to them. And each one of these phones is $1,500. It is quite expensive. I don't get why it's expensive because it's essentially a Samsung S5 with a barcode scanner attached to it. But one day, I was left alone with very minimal training for my department, and the surrounding departments, everyone, went on lunch at the same time. So I had a mob of people come up to me and say, I need this done, I need this done, I need this done. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do my own job. I tried, like, I genuinely tried to help some people, but, like, there were others that were like, well, I need to order a door for my house. And the system for that, I had absolutely no training on. Like, I could get stuff down off the shelf, but I couldn't, like, place orders and stuff. And this, like, it went on for about an hour and a half. It was rough. And I tried to take my lunch after that because I was legitimately stressed out. And I got to the break room. I didn't even get a chance to actually clock out for lunch. And I got told to go back to my department to cut wire for someone. And cutting wire is the simplest thing. It is probably the single easiest thing to do in that entire store, and really, no one has a reason to not be able to do it. The customer tells you what you want, or what they want. They tell you how long they want it to be. You measure out the length, and then you cut it with a pair of wire cutters. It is not that hard. So I got a little grumpy, and may or may not have, in a moment of absolute dumb and forgetfulness, kind of forgot that I had the smartphone in my hand and tossed it. And I got wrote up for it, which is understandable. I mean, it's understandable. I tossed a $1,500 phone. But at the same time, I've seen people run over them with forklifts, and I feel like I could have gotten off with a warning of, hey, please don't fucking do that. So I was like, okay, now I've got 2 write-ups, and you're allowed 3 in a year. So I'm like, oh, well, I gotta be careful now. And I was trying to, mind my P's and Q's, as the saying goes. And pretty much what ended up happening is every day I'd come in, one of the assistant managers, I'm not going to name who, I'd rather not get that personal, would be like, hey, just so you know, you got 2 write-ups, make sure you don't mess up. And I'm like, thanks, dude. Thanks for the vote of confidence. And my final day there was, I was scheduled in at like 4, but I was originally scheduled in at 4, and I came in, and they're like, oh, well, no, I was scheduled to work at 3, and they changed it to 4. And I came in an hour early, basically. And I was basically told, anytime that they have to alter the schedule, it counts as a infraction or something, and I could get wrote up for it. So I was basically told as soon as I got there, well, we have to change your schedule. Instead of letting me go home for another hour, they said, oh, just stay, we'll just change your schedule, which meant an infraction. And I was basically told, or well, I was basically told, hey, this will be a write up, and I'm like, you're you're writing me up because you're not letting me go home so that I can come in an hour later. And I basically just said, fuck it, and I left. And I was like, I mean, I feel like I could have like done something to stay, but at the same time, I didn't really want to stay. I didn't want to deal with them because they were really, really toxic. And that's the thing. A lot of companies nowadays, you can't be human. It genuinely feels that way. It's like you cannot be human. Humans aren't meant to work, 40 plus hours a week and make their bodies break under just sheer weight of doing stuff. So I need my ladder. But yeah, so I essentially lost that job. There's nothing I could do, really. They wouldn't have listened to me anyways. Although I did find out one of the managers I had a major problem with got like investigated for abusive tendencies. Although I think he still works there, so kind of shows you how that went. But another thing is, I don't really like to talk bad about prior work experiences. I will tell the truth, and my experience with most of the places that I've worked have been terrible because, as I said, people just, they don't want humans. They want actual robots. And I cannot force myself to do that, and it pisses other people off. It pisses management off because they don't like that I'm very outspoken, and I blame my mother for that. Because I was always taught if I had a problem with anything to speak up, and works don't like that. Occupations don't like that. They want you to be quiet, and they want you to come in, they want you to do your job, and they want you to be quiet about it. And I just can't do that. I'm having to do that right now to survive, but I'm keeping my head up, and hopefully I'll have the job that I want. Which is, I'll be working for an IT company, which I can't wait. I cannot wait. I've always wanted a job like that. I'm so good with computers. I've been working on computers since I was, 10-ish. And it's one of those things that I know how much that information is valued, whether it be, personal or work related. Like, I want to be able to help people protect that information and, God forbid, get that information back if something happens. I don't want people to be stressed out about something that they can't control. That's why I want that job so bad. On top of that, the CEO is a fucking cool ass dude. He asked me questions I've never been asked before. Like, good questions I've never been asked before by any other, like, manager or higher up. And, like, when he was asking those questions, I'm just like, holy God, he's treating me like a human. And that's all that I want, is I want to be treated as a human at a job. And it's apparently too much to ask nowadays. But things will work out, because things always work out. takes time, it takes patience, sometimes it takes money, but it does work out. Sometimes you can't rush it. Most of the time you can't rush it. As the saying goes, c'est la vie. You can see my shoe print. Are those my shoe prints? I think those are someone else's, actually. Kind of curious. The guy mentioned that he was renting this. I'm kind of curious, like, how much he's paying for this, because this is a massive house. One of my old bosses lived in a house like this, but had an in-ground pool. Bumped into the park warden. He definitely needs your help. Oh, they want me to clean this skate park. The skate park is... it's very tedious. Or no, there is an actual playground, actually. Forgot about that one. That one's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I'm probably not going to sleep because it's already 2. I'll just go in and try my very best. I work for 5 hours, and technically speaking, I have 6 hours of sleep today. But it's so hot. It's not even hot. It's so humid. It feels like I'm sitting in water right now. That's how humid it is. And I can't sleep in this. I got the ACs going, I got the fans going, nothing helps. I am wide awake. I feel like I drank, 2 cups of coffee. So, I'll just, like I said, I'll go in, try my best. Not the first time that I've ever worked on, like, a lack of sleep. It's not a good thing to do, but at the same time, I have 6 hours of sleep, it's just not consecutive. Actually, interesting enough, back in the, is it the Edwardian days? I forget exactly, it's not Victorian, but it's around that time. People used to have what was called 2 sleeps. You would sleep for 4 hours, get up for like 2, and then sleep another 4 hours. It was before electricity. I remember that being a thing. See, this is what I mean. There needs to be a surface cleaner. If it's still not in here, then I'm gonna be kind of super disappointed. No surface cleaner. Come on, game devs. Come on, you gotta add a surface cleaner. This is just silly. Yeah, $276. I could... The Space Cadet. Custom styling for this light duty pressure washer. Custom styling. I need to buy a better pressure washer before I do anything. Medium duty. $900. Good Lord Almighty. That actually is... That's actually on par. I mean, it's kind of close. The pressure washers that I used to sell, they had an electric one for like $300 that everyone would buy and then return because it was hot garbage. And then we had the Craftsman ones, and I'm going to tell you this right now, if you're interested in power equipment, don't buy Craftsman. Do not buy it. You will be returning it. because it's garbage. The higher end Craftsman stuff are okay. Craftsman drills and stuff like that are okay. But like pressure washers and lawnmowers, don't buy it. They break down really easily. But those would be like, I think the cheapest one of those was about 500, and it went all the way up to 7. And then we had another brand called Samson, and Samson was like $1,000 to $2,000 for a pressure washer. I only sold like 6 of those, I think, in the entire time that I was employed there. But they never got returned because people listened to me. It was really funny. Every Craftsman thing I sold, every Craftsman thing that I sold was returned. Because people were like, oh no, I know what I need. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you knew what you needed, you wouldn't talk to the people that work there. I'm going to tell you this right now. Sometimes it's worth paying extra. A $300 lawnmower is not going to do the same as a $1,500 lawnmower. It's just not going to work. Sorry. If you don't want to spend that much money and want to get what you pay for, go to Harbor Freight. You'll get like 2 days out of it. Didn't mean to go on a rant about that, sorry. It's funny to me. I've worked in retail a lot. Like I have, I think, almost 10 years, I think. Yeah, almost 10 years. I'm almost 30. Started around when I was 18, so yeah. 10 years of retail experience, and it's so funny because I always hear the exact same thing out of almost every customer in any location I've ever worked. I've worked for dollar stores, I've worked for chain retail stores, I've worked for companies that don't even exist anymore, and it's always funny. It's always funny because I'll hear the exact same things from the exact same type of people. I'm just like, oh, you're one of those people, aren't you? Appreciate that. Actually, rather interesting, I was offered a job at my local radio station once. So, at my high school, we had these things called mock interviews or something like that. Basically, practice interviews to see how well you can do when interviewing for a job, which I always thought was kind of mean and I had never heard of until I had been to this high school. But they would bring in like real people that do hiring to do these interviews. And when I was in high school, I was very much into broadcast technology. I wanted to do this stuff. I still do. But it takes a lot to do this. And the person that they brought in to do my interview was this wonderful woman. I forget her name at this point. And she worked for the local radio station. And she really liked me. She liked my attitude. And she's like, if you ever, look for need a job and you can get over your stage fright, come to the radio station. We'll be happy to have you. And a few years later, I was working for Radio Shack, and she came in, and she's like, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And she's like, "Hey, are you still interested in a job?" And I'm like, well, I hadn't really thought about it. At the time, I was a store manager. Like, it was literally not even on my radar. She's like, "Oh, if you're interested, just, come on over." Apparently, I have a good voice for radio. But, like, the thing is, my stage fright's really interesting because, like, if I know I have total control over everything, I'm fine. Like, at any point, I can just myself and everything is cool. But if I'm, like, on a radio station where I don't have total control over what I'm doing, it would stress me out. Plus, I would have to use my announcer voice, and I'm not prepared to use my announcer voice. Oh, hit it again. There we go. Although it would be kind of funny. I'd be working for a radio station that does classic rock, and I love my 80s. 70s and 80s. Although there's a couple of 80s songs and bands that I'm not a big fan of. Really don't like the song Limelight. It's really just not my forte. Not my vibe, as kids nowadays would say. Plus, I only listen to, like, the same 20 songs in a row, and it's really boring. Something I kind of... Whoa. Something I kind of miss. My very first job, I worked as technically a contract technician is what officially it was called. I worked for a film production agency that was actually down the street from my high school. And it was a small, like, privately owned business, but it was so fun. It was so fun. Because, like, these big companies would hire us to do, like, training videos for them and, like, internal stuff. And, I mean, I'm not talking, like, local businesses, although we did have local businesses. I'm talking, like, we had Toyota contact us. We had the Kroger Corporation contact us for training videos. We were really good at what we did. And it was so fun because I got to meet so many people, like so many really interesting people. I met the CEO of Kroger. And that's something that I really enjoyed. Like, my job was fun. I'd go in, 6-7 hours, and I would sit down and be given a task. Like, one day I would do film transfers for, like, Mrs. O'Leary down the street. She had those old, 8mm film rolls, and she wanted them put on that newfangled DVD. And I would do those. And I gotta tell you, that was something that was incredibly fun. Getting to do reel-to-reel film transfers and just seeing, like, glimpses of people's lives. It was really, really cool. But then, like, other days I would come in and I'd have to be doing, like, actual film editing. Or supervising editing as well. Co-editing. The only thing I didn't get to do was script writing. Which I can't blame my boss for not wanting me, because, like, I was basically a high school student. And I'm pretty sure my stories and my scripts were not great. Although one of my scripts did... when I was in high school, I was in this class called JAG, Jobs for American Graduates. And I was a production manager. I think that's what they called it. The role, the actual position had been made for me. And basically, my whole job was, like, essentially advertisement for projects that we were doing. And I wrote a script for this thing called Angel Tree. And it was so well written that like people fell in love with it, but I never got to make it because the opportunity never presented itself. I was also one hell of a cook. We had a award ceremony, and I got to cook food for people. It was really fun. I did a lot of really cool stuff when I was in high school, and like a little after high school. Like I, through high school, I met the mayor. Um, Through my first job, I met the CEO of Kroger. I met a bunch of like CEOs. Um, I got to travel a lot. Unfortunately, as things tend to happen, I was a bit too expensive to keep around at the agency, and I don't resent the gentleman who, I don't resent my boss. His name was William, and I do not resent him at all. I completely understood it was pricey to keep me around. But I thank him like every day because he gave me a lot of confidence to do things that I didn't know I could do, like graphic design, video editing, even talking in front of people. He was a really cool guy. And then after I left there, or I was let go, I got a job, my first retail job, and that's when things went downhill. That was my first experience with highly toxic people. That was my first experience with a verbally abusive person in power. It was not good. Although every job that I've had teaches me something about myself. And I appreciate even the worst jobs I've had because I know it's taught me something. Like the very first job I had with the verbally abusive manager and all that, that taught me to value myself. That taught me that I'm worth more than people say I am. Working as a manager for Radio Shack taught me the type of manager, the type of leader I wanted to be. Even when one of my friends that was working for me quit on me. Also taught me sometimes companies, actually a lot of times companies, don't have your best interest at heart. Also taught me a very valuable lesson that a lot of people lie. And it almost seems like if you want to be successful, you have to lie. And that's something I refuse to do. I was raised that dishonesty lowers your worth. If you tell lies, if you cheat, if you steal, you don't deserve value. And that's something I try to live by. I went from a van to somebody's car to somebody's house. There's like no intermediate step. It was just van, house. I gotta wash that whole fence. It is so hot. How am I almost done? I've got to wash your whole shed. That is something that I've been hyper fixated on. I have a form of ADHD where I get hyper fixations on stuff. Is as of lately, and I don't know why, I've rediscovered my interest in specifically the Titanic, the story of the Titanic and the legacy that it left behind. I mean, it's a tragedy. I'm not gonna lie, it's an absolute tragedy. But with tragedy comes knowledge. As an example, Titanic, had it not been for that, there wouldn't be regulations that there are now. One of the big things that like a lot of people know about the Titanic was it didn't have enough lifeboats for the amount of people that it could hold. This is completely true. If you don't know this, this is honest. This is true. So the Titanic, I'm certain you guys have heard of it, but I'll give you a brief history. The Titanic was one of 3 sister ships designed by Thomas Andrew, I think was his name, and built for the White Star Line in Liverpool, England, and built by the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Harland and Wolff been around for a long, long time. They knew how to build ships. They did a great job building ships. Titanic was designed to be the state-of-the-art luxury, not necessarily cruise ship per se, like a passenger vessel. But its main purpose actually was to be a mail carrier, to carry mail across the Atlantic. Put it down. Thank you. From England to America. And Titanic was actually, if I remember correctly, the second ship. The first was the Olympic, and and Titanic was the second one, and it was rather kind of funny. Titanic was in 2 collisions. It hit a boat in a harbor, and then had to get repaired, and then the iceberg. But anyways, lifeboats. So the Titanic was fitted with a bunch of safety features, lots of safety features. One of the big safety feature was the automatic bulkhead doors, and what these were in the lower portion of the ship and the engineering decks and cargo hold. They were separated and had these big watertight doors that would come slamming shut if there was a collision. Or, well, if someone hit a button, anyways. And it would prevent water from filling up the entire boat. One of the safety features that it had originally was enough lifeboats for, I think, 4,000 people. and the maximum that the boat could carry was 3,562, I think. Um, but when it was finished, one of the head designers was like, "Wow, it looks really crowded. Let's remove half of those lifeboats." And so they did. So the maximum that realistically the lifeboats could save was 1,500 people, which, hey, that could have come in handy, on the night of the event, or the morning of the event, technically. But it was a really beautiful, wonderful ship, and it had a lot going for it. I mean, it's an absolute tragedy, but I'm almost thankful that it did happen, because without it, there wouldn't be, as many lifeboats on today's cruise ships. There wouldn't be, safety features that were made, double hulls and all that. Is that a volcano? Am I in Pompeii? Holy God. Ooh. So dirty. Actually, I watched a movie recently. It's a horrible movie. It's a movie called Raise the Titanic. I kind of got on a kick of watching Titanic-related media, so I watched the movie, obviously, which is actually, it's one of my favorite movies. It's such a good story, and I kind of hate how good it's written by James Cameron. But there was a movie called Race the Titanic that was released in the 1980s. And it's very interesting because it is a victim of its time. You see, for a long time, people didn't really know for certain if the Titanic sank in one piece or not. And in that film, the plot of the movie is so stupid. So it takes place during the Cold War era, and the United States is building this laser defense system. I forget the name of it. It's a really stupid name. But to power it, they need this really rare and super radioactive mineral element called Izanium. And it's discovered at the very beginning of the movie that there is a mine on an island that's owned by Russia, where there was tons of Izanium. Well, it was mined by Americans back in the 1900s and was supposed to be essentially smuggled to America on the Titanic. So the government is like, holy God, there's 2 million tons of this radioactive element that is sitting on the ocean floor. We have to raise the Titanic. So they do. They come up with this idea to fill the entire boat with foam, like expanding foam, and just have it raise itself, 2 miles up from the seafloor to get this radioactive element. And then they come to find out it's not there. The boxes that were set to contain it contain gravel. And at the very end, there's like this whole like side story of how the guy who was smuggling it actually hid it in like a false grave for himself, and then the guy who was in charge of the project was like, "Oh, well, maybe we don't need Isanium. Maybe we can just get along with the Russians and blah 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 blah." It's a bad movie, really bad movie. I don't recommend it. But yeah, it was made in the 1980s, and it actually wasn't until the 1980s that the wreck was found. Like, for a long time, that ship was just gone. Nobody knew where it sank. Like, they had an idea, but it just wasn't there. And it's a really funny story. I believe the United States Army was trying to locate two nuclear submarines that had sank, and it was like a top secret operation because they didn't want other countries, I think specifically Russia at the time, they didn't want them to know that they were missing, nuclear material. And by accident, they found it just sitting there. And they're like, "Oh, hey, look it. It's the boat." But yeah, until the 1980s, people thought it just sank in one piece, but it broke. People wonder why we don't build a second Titanic. We've tried. There's people who have attempted to build them. China was going to build one as a theme park, and I do mean that. You can look that up. And then there's a very eccentric billionaire called Clive Palmer who was going to build one to be like a cruise ship slash museum. But things didn't fan out. One of the big issues is the Titanic, compared to today's cruise ships, is relatively small. Even the smallest cruise ship that I can think of that a lot of people know, like the Costa Concordia that sank on its side, is, I think, roughly 100 times larger than the Titanic. Am I done? What did I miss? 99%. What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Think. Oh. The windows. Whoa. What windows? It's gotta be on this. Ah. Okay. Retaining wall. Oh. How did I miss all that? Oops. Something also interesting, Titanic related. I did not know that because it was so expensive and so difficult to process salt water into fresh water, the majority of the water used on the Titanic was salt water. The pool was filled with salt water, and most people bathed in salt water without, I mean, I'm sure they realized it, but this one. There we go. What's next? Stepping stones. These. What did I miss? to some interesting history facts for you guys. Here's another interesting history fact for you. The Empire State Building was designed to be an airship dock. The spire at the top with all the like radio antennas, that was a mooring mast, a dock for airships. But they found out rather quickly, skyscrapers create updrafts, so it wasn't feasible to actually have an airship dock there. So they covered it with a like a steel outer coating and put a bunch of radio antennas on it. I don't know what it means by pond edging. Oh, this. How did I not get that done? Step edging. This stuff? Or is it this? Well, I got that. You want to show me where the step edging is that you're talking about? Oh, right here. Watch the time lapse of that. Let's do the dirt bike. Actually, I want to show you guys something. Because on that topic, I'm going to show you what the Empire State Building was originally supposed to look like, or what it did look like for a very short time. Because I think it looks better. Let's see, how do I want to do this? We're going to save that and then bring it into the streaming software. Image. So, actually, before I do that, I'll do a before and after. Okay. Here we go. I'm shocked. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Dag nabbit. That's what I want. Stop it! Why do you do that? Why are you being mean to me? Oh, I guess that works. Kind of. Alright. So, this is what everyone is used to. Okay, so this is the Empire State Building as it exists today. There's the top, there's a couple of floors, but that's usually used for maintenance. You can see the radio antennas on it. Yeah, kind of standard. Actually, not get rid of that. Here's what it was supposed to look like when it was an air dock. Or airship dock, whatever you want to call it. Voila. See, you can sort of see, like, we'll kind of make, whoops, we'll make this a little bit bigger. You can kind of see the same basic shape is there, but they just threw shit on top. Like, um, it had windows. That was an elevator. Like, it was a dock. You got off up here and traveled via elevator down, and there you go. But like I said, physics and all that got in the way, and they couldn't do it. It's actually one of the few reasons why I want to go to New York. Is I like searching for artifacts from like the past. I'd love to go to, I think it's called Chelsea Pier, Pier 54, which was the pier Titanic was supposed to dock at. It's still there, mostly. It got sort of repurposed for some sort of like park. I don't know. But I wouldn't mind going there just to see all that stuff. Also, there's a couple of museums in New York I'd love to visit too. This is a nice dirt bike. Clean, darn you. There we go. Another place I'd like to go briefly, I wouldn't want to stay very long, is I'd like to go to where was it at? Give me a second, I'll remember. There's a Nickelodeon Studios, I think it was Burbank, the original Nickelodeon Studios, which became the Blue Man Group Theater. I'd love to go visit that, because I used to watch shows that were produced there. Sorry, I'm drinking water. Water is good for you. Drink water. Stay hydrated. Clean as an egg. What? Clean as an egg? Have you ever been on a farm? Eggs don't normally come out clean. That one. Dirt Finder. I've got a frankly ridiculous situation on my hands. You see, some of the local children have been coming down with a curious and unsightly form of dermatitis. A few fretful folk have been putting it down to the condition of the recreational facilities. It's all nonsense, of course, but if we could just humor them and give them the whole thing a thorough hose down, I would be most grateful. You want me to whisper in your ear? And that's why Zen used to do ASMR. I'm very good at it. I didn't used to use this mic, though. I used to use my other mic. Holy Manitoba. That's a lot of dirt. This is... Yikes. Yeah, and I still don't feel at all tired. I will probably have to take a shower after this, because, like, it is that hot. I am drenched in sweat. It is not fun. I really should, like... I don't know. I need, like, a portable air conditioner in here, but you have to vent portable air conditioners. And I don't have a way to vent it. Sad to say, this is actually probably the coldest room in the entire house, is my studio. Studio, basement, what do you even want to call it? Second floor. I call it the dungeon. That's not true. That's not true. The dungeon's actually the adjoining room that's just an absolute mess right now. I'm trying to think of some more, like, topics I can talk about. Some interests of mine. Oh, here's another interest. So I'm a big film buff. I really like, I like movies. I watch movies for the special effects, basically. Because I've worked in the film industry, I know how certain techniques are done. And I love watching movies to see how they do certain techniques. Like, one of my favorite movies is a horror movie called The Fly. Gruesome movie. Very, very, very gruesome. Very well made. Love the acting in it. Jeff Goldblum is a masterpiece of a man. Doesn't scare me one bit, because I know it's all fake. And I know how they did some of the stuff. As a matter of fact, the final form that he takes is a giant puppet called Spacebug. And I just love watching that movie because I'm like, all Jeff Goldblum spent 9 hours in the makeup chair to look like that for 30 seconds. But one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future. Now, some people probably don't know what Back to the Future is. Some people probably do. Back to the Future is a trilogy of movies that were made in the 80s through the 90s. I think it was 85 through 90. And it revolves around the story of a high school student named Marty McFly, who is friends with... Just give me a second. It's kind of silly, but give me a second. He is friends with a nuclear scientist, physicist, who is kind of he's kind of the town joke, because he used to be like this very wealthy man, came from a very wealthy family. We actually find out that his dad was one of the judges of the town through the video game. I played the video game. But the physicist makes a time machine. Now, because it's the 1980s, he makes it out of one of the most iconic things that you can make a time machine out of. A sports car, or was supposed to be a sports car. He makes it out of something called a DeLorean, a DMC-12 DeLorean. I am fucking in love with DeLoreans. I have driven one. They are super fun. They're fucking scary to drive, but they're super fun. It was a it was a dream, is basically what it was. The DeLorean was supposed to be a sports car that everyday people could afford to buy. It was supposed to be $12,000, and it was supposed to be this highly affordable, gas efficient, super fast, beautiful coupe sports car with really cool fucking gull wing doors. And gull wing doors are doors that open upward instead of outward, and they actually save room. Anyways, things didn't really work out. Business went under. There was a belief that the guy, John, who founded it, John DeLorean, they thought he smuggled drugs or was smuggling drugs. But anyways, in Texas, a gentleman bought the copyright, bought the name, and was selling new old stock DeLoreans. Basically, when the company went under, they had a bunch of parts in the assembly plant, and the guy bought them and was putting them together and selling them. Unfortunately, when the company went under back in the 80s, it is rumored, though we don't really know, but the plates that they used to produce parts were thrown into the ocean. So once all the parts for these DeLoreans are gone, and all the DeLoreans are gone, that's it. No more. Well, the guy who owns this company, the DeLorean company in Texas, actually has started mass producing the new DeLorean. And I fucking want it. It's called the Alpha. It is an all-electric sports car. And you get 200 miles per charge. Now, here's the thing. That is a luxury sports car. That is probably what John had envisioned originally. It is $150,000 for the base model. Meanwhile, the 1980 version is like $30,000, so it's not that bad. But I fucking want to own one so bad. They're so quirky and kind of dangerous, but I really want to own one. They're dangerous because, like, the 80s safety features hadn't really... I mean, there were safety features, but they weren't really commonplace. Like, early versions of the DeLorean didn't have seatbelts. And all of them don't have airbags. Yeah. But I got to drive one, and I want to own one. I fucking love them. You have to quickly become a DeLorean mechanic, basically. There's some things that just kind of go out from time to time. It's not out of the question for you to have to replace the battery like once a month, because sometimes that just happens. But that is my dream car. That is the car that I want to have before I die. And rather interesting enough, there is a dealership about 6 hours away that I could buy one from, but I don't have $30,000. That's one of those things of, like, when I become a big streamer, I might buy. After, of course, the charity donations and stuff like that. That would be my one big purchase. Maybe, I might buy a house. I kind of want to. I hate to say this. I kind of want to live like Elon Musk. Elon is, I think, the richest man in existence. The dude lives like he's poor. Like, he willingly just eats junk food and wears Walmart clothing. He does not care. And a lot of people fucking hate that, but I respect that. Money shouldn't change a person. It really shouldn't. If I won the lottery, I would not be a different person. I would still be who I am. I would still be this goofy, nerdy dude who's obsessed with things from time to time. I would just have the ability to take care of people. That's all I want. Oh, that sounds lovely. I want to live in Maine. I don't know why. I've always wanted to live in Maine or Vermont. New England. I'd like to have a house semi-secluded. Maybe Oregon, actually. Oregon would be nice, too. Kind of semi-secluded, back in the woods, near some water. Maybe a lake or the ocean. Where the temperature doesn't get, too cold, but it doesn't get too hot. I actually had a relative, a great aunt, who lived on an island, basically by herself, off the coast of Washington State, and she was happy as could be. She was kind of a hermit, but happy as could be. I can respect that. I actually wouldn't mind living kind of like her off the coast of Washington near Seattle. Seattle's pretty famous. Kind of historic. It's also the location for one of my favorite movies. I don't think it was filmed. It's definitely not filmed in Seattle. Actually, I think it was filmed in Canada. But I want to go to Canada, but I don't want to live in Canada. I don't know about Montana. Montana, Wyoming, I've always heard there's just nothing there. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. And I want to have at least something to do. Actually, I live in Indiana, and about, I think it's 4 or 5 hours north, you can get to one of the Great Lakes. And there's a city up there called Michigan City, and I want to live there. It is beautiful, and it's so pretty. It's so weird, because I've been to Georgia. That was my first time ever going to the ocean, as I went to Georgia. And I couldn't really tell the difference. Like, from Michigan City to Georgia, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it doesn't have the culture, obviously, but that'd be nice. See, I'm from the South. Like, I am from the South, so I'm pretty comfortable living in the South. There's another one of my great aunts. I actually had 3, I think. Yeah, 3. And she had this beautiful house in Kentucky. Let's see. Kentucky. I don't remember. I do not remember. I remember the name of the city, but I don't remember the name of the state. Oh, I loved her house. It was so nice. Her husband had paid for it. He was a retired Air Force vet. Really cool story. My great uncle, he was part of the team that designed the engine for the 747 plane, the jet plane, You can keep the cherries. Not a big fan of cherries. Peaches, apple pie, all that's good. But in her backyard, she had I believe she had an apple tree. My grandparents have a persimmon tree. Not as fun. But yeah, in case nobody knew, I am Southern. I was born in Tennessee. And sometimes my Southern twang comes out just a little bit. I was also raised by Southerners. I was raised by my grandparents. They come from Tennessee and Kentucky, respectively. Um, I've got a lot of relatives. I've got a great uncle, and his name is Jim. I think his name is actually James Robert. So technically speaking, his name is Jim Bob. He he races cars. I wish I could make this up. He either used to or still does, and I know his son Jason does. Oh, we don't really get to see him very often. Bit of a feud in my family. That's the weird thing about Southern families is like they're always like, oh, we love everyone and we love everything, and then they'll willingly have fights over stupid shit. I sound like your grandfather? What with my Southern twang? Sometimes I bring it out. Sometimes it just comes out on its own. Especially when I'm listening to country music and I start singing along. Actually, I was listening to country music trying to fall asleep too. I was listening to some of my old favorites. I'm not a big country fan nowadays because it's basically stadium rock, but I do like listening to old country like Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. I try not to let my country slip through. I have to keep a leash on him. It's, sometimes it's not great when you let your twang through, especially when you're in a city and everyone talks like they're from, well, maybe not everyone, but lots of people talk like they're from the city and that they know a little bit more than you because they're all city slickers. So I have this constant fight with myself, this inner fight, where the country boy in me wants to be expressed, but then the city boy in me wants to be expressed. Like, I could never live in the deep south. I just couldn't do it. But I could never live in a city. Like, I could never live in, like, New York. No, you could not pay me to do that. But I couldn't live in, like, I couldn't live in the holler of like Alabama or places like that. I could probably live in Kentucky because I have a lot of family that live in Kentucky and they live within the city. But like, yeah, and they're always constantly fighting. They're like, "Oh, you should do it this way. You should do it this way. You should do it this way." You know. I mean, I have multiple personality disorder. I have so many personas. It's not even funny. Zen's a persona. I've got the Southerner. I've got the city boy. I've got the scientist. I feel like Butters from South Park. Come clean, damn you. Oh, that's just wood texture. How long have I stream? Almost 2 hours. I should probably end the stream. Alright. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. and for hearing me out on everything. I do want you guys to know that you guys, my followers and my fans and my Discord group of friends, you mean the absolute world to me, okay? And there will be days, there will be bad days where I'm grouchy and irritable and things just aren't going right, but everyone has those days. But it will not change the fact that I love and care about all of you. And I genuinely want the very best for all of you. I want you all to be able to follow your dreams. I want you guys to be able to succeed. I want you guys to have a happy and wonderful life. And I want you guys to always, and I mean always, know that even in the darkest of times that you might have, you can count on me. I will be there to be your friend. I will be there to help you and support you. So, anyways, I'm gonna go. I literally can't go to sleep because if I go to sleep, I'll be asleep for 2 hours. So, I'm going to probably eat breakfast and take a shower and just go about my day. Hopefully you guys have a great day or morning, whatever it might be for you, and I hope you all have wonderful days at work if you work, wonderful days at school if you're in school, and just have a wonderful day in general.